CMA Center of Excellence, it's a pleasure to welcome all our distinguished guests, respected panelists, for joining us for this particular Ethical AI Global Standards in Emerging Framework Webcon. As you all know, artificial intelligence is no longer a technology of the future. It's something that we're already facing. It's something that we're already working on. It's in our lives, it's in our decisions, it's in everything that our organization is doing, from boardrooms to financial institutions, to our banking institution, maybe to an academic body. It's reshaping industries at an unprecedented pace. However, with this extraordinary opportunity comes a big responsibility on everyone, every institution, every government, every academic body. The question is no longer whether organizations should adopt AI, but rather how they can adopt it responsibly, ethically, and maybe in a manner that inspires trust. As AI systems become more intelligent and autonomous, the issue is transparency. The issue comes with its fairness, its accountability, maybe the privacy, security, and more importantly, governance. Have you thought about it? It has become a strategic priority for institutions to actually think in this particular technical consideration. Actually, governments, regulators, and many international bodies are coming up with different standards. But how far are we using them? And if we are actually aware they're important for our institutions and for our country. So for discussion, we have actually come up with 4 important topics for today's Webcon. And our discussion will revolve around the societal impact of AI, the global standards shaping ethical AI, emerging regulatory developments, and how organizations can actually translate governance principles into practical implementation. So these are the 4 important topics that we'll be talking about throughout our discussion. Whether you're executive or policymaker or maybe academician or maybe a leader or a government professional, the important part is you can get a very good takeaway from this session because we have speakers who are coming from various backgrounds and maybe nationally, internationally placed, and they're bringing in their insights and experience to be shared in this platform. So make the most out of it. I encourage every participant to take it seriously. Talk about all the questions that you have in mind. You can just write down your questions in our chat box, and whenever time permits, and as much as time permits, we'll try and take up your questions also. Now it's good time to introduce our panelists. First of all, I'd like to introduce Mr. Babar Majid Bhatti. I'll speak, 4 important parts because these profiles are so big. I mean, if I'd like to, go through their profiles and I'll talk about, what their achievements are, it's going to take a lot of time. So, मैंने क्या किया है कि I've actually jotted down 4 important points out of everybody's profile. So, please pardon me if I do not include an important information that really needed to be discussed. You can talk about it when I give it to you. So, Babar Majid Bhatti Saab has 24 years of global C-suite leadership experience across Africa, Europe, Middle East, North America, and Australia. Wow. Former CEO of Pakistan's National Information Technology Board and our former neighbor, now moved to Australia. Cybersecurity and AI strategist with PhD in cybersecurity and strategic risk management, an entrepreneur, investor, and an author. Second profile with us is Miss Saima Naveed. She's a Chief Information Officer at Pakistan Cables Limited, leading enterprise-wide technology and digital transformation initiatives. Experienced technology leader with a strong track record of consulting FMCG, pharmaceutical, manufacturing industries. Wow. Expert in IT, governance, cybersecurity, ERP, modernization, business technology, aligning technology with business objectives, wonderful, passionate advocate of innovation. Then we have Mr. Asad Ikram, another very good profile, 35 plus years of experience in the aviation, aerospace, academic sectors, driving innovation and strategic growth, mashallah, expert in research and development and product realization with extensive experience in product qualification, and technology commercialization. I know nothing about all these things, so pardon me. Champion of academia industry collaboration, also electrical and computer engineering specialist, and MS in MEMS and VLSI from Purdue University, USA. Recognized from building high performing teams and advancing cutting edge technology. Wonderful. MashaAllah, sir. Then we have Mr. Hussain Hassan Ali. He has 1 second. The revised profile I have received, I'd like to read that out from the Word document that I've created. He's an award-winning global leader with 30 years of international experience in technology governance, risk compliance, information security, and technology audit. Former senior executive at HBL, Bank Al Habib, Ernst and Young, leading enterprise-wide technology, governance, and cybersecurity initiatives. Globally recognized thought leader of ISACA, and then accredited trainer also, recipient of prestigious international honors, including Lifetime Achievement Award, wow, mashallah, in Information Security and World CIO 200 Legend Award, while actively mentoring future leaders and serving on Industry Advisory Board. So basically, we have a wonderful group of panelists here with us, and it's my desire to learn from them as much as possible. I'll try to come up with my little questions. I'd like to have more information so that we all who've joined us online can actually understand, what is responsible AI, what is ethical AI. Acha Janab, after that, I'd like to move on to
तो
my
भाई वो
first topic.
भाभी भी
And
नहीं है
before
यार
that, I'd like my panelists to, speak
रीबा भाभी नहीं
a
है
word from themselves. So please, if Asad Ikram Saab can, start.
Sorry. So I think it's very exciting to be part of this panel here, mashallah, with all the other panelists, and I'm sure the participants will also be able to, add value to the discussions that we have. क्योंकि ethical AI is just so important. पूरी दुनिया में है, हमारे यहाँ ज़्यादा है, यहाँ पे थोड़े से challenges और भी ज़्यादा हैं, because ethics की overall understanding या privacy accountability की understanding हमारे मुल्क में वैसे भी बाकी काफ़ी सारी जगहों से कम है. So maybe there's more, I would say, effort to be done, but that also means that there's more space for work, which is also good. So I think that's what I would, I'd like to say right now, and then we can, of course, continue on with discussions as we go.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much. Hussain Saab, can we have a word from your side, please?
Very much privileged to be here today and amongst this, august and a panel of experts. So I look at AI as just the natural evolution of things. This is not the first thing that has happened to us, not the last one that will happen. There is, a lot more things. But if we look at what has been happening over, say, the last 30 years, which has been my working life, essentially, things have escalated, started increasing. The speed of change has increased so much. And we've seen the evolution of technology in that regards. And we are at this stage, which I believe is a sort of watershed. Because if we do not, as human beings, if we do not catch on to how technology is moving, then we will be left behind, or at least those who don't catch on will be left behind. And so we
चलो आते हैं तो मैं यार
our
भेज देता हूँ
organizations and get on to progress. At the same time, we have to recognize the need for responsible growth. And this has always been the
यार पहले ही
case.
कितने
So
साथ
where
साथ
we
तुसी
are
चला देंगे ना तो
leveraging
काम सही
use
रहना
of technology so much that all of our organizations, our businesses, our lives now depend on it. We also
ये
need
वाला
to
ऐसा
ensure that it is being governed properly, and we are practicing ethical principles while we implement and use technology. So AI is just another form that we also need to govern and ensure that we are learning how to use it ethically.
Inshallah.
Now,
Now I'd like to request Ms. Saima. Thank you so very much, Susan sir.
Yeah.
Now I'd request Ms. Saima to kindly, give us a little, introduction about what you think about it.
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to the ICMA panel, and
Thank you.
I'm very much glad to participate with such an experienced people of panel sitting with us in this topic of AI. AI launched with a good hype, and there was a lot of chaos of adapting it very quickly, and everybody rushed towards AI in a chaotic manner. There was lack of governance when we all started as organization for adoption of AI. Before we talk rules, we as an organization don't even know where AI already lives in our businesses in form of shadow AI, in form of embedded SaaS tools we are already using,
चलो यार
and
अल्लाह खैर करे आते हैं तो लगा देता
people
हूँ
are
यार
interacting with consumer chatbots in many ways and sharing the data over
यार
AI
इतनी
without
फिलहाल नहीं आते हैं
knowing
तो लगवा देता
what
हूँ मसला नहीं है
and how much to share there. So, first of all,
भाई यार
we,
खावे मसला है
as
किसी से
part of
पूछ लूंगा फिर
governance,
तुम्हारे से वापस
have
नहीं होनी
to
अगर तुमने 5 लाख
decide
रुपए तुम्हें दिया था
wherever
तुम्हें 2
AI
घंटे का
is
कहा है
being
आज पता नहीं
used in
20
our
दिन हो गए
organization, how much scrutiny we must use for every case in our scenario. So, it's a widespread use cases of AI across everywhere in the organization and department, and we have to shape our governance path towards it.
True, ma'am. Thank you so much for your contribution. Now I'd request Babar Sahab to kindly, share a little word about what you think.
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you very much for inviting me, and really quite glad to be among such a learned cohort. Yeah, I totally agree with Ma'am Saima, Asad Saab, and Hussain Saab. Like AI actually is everywhere now. I mean, we can't. It's very different wave as compared to in 1990s. We had like a wave of certifications from Microsoft, from Cisco, from so many other providers, and coming in these career pathways, one always had an option to go through it or not. AI is not like that. I mean, we don't have an option. It's like a storm. So accept it or not, but we are into it. But now the thing is, when we as users are using it and organizations are adopting it, uh, quite rapid changes are coming. The experiences are a mix. Like as an example, the concept of agentic AI. It just emerged in November 2024, like 1.5 years ago. A lot of investments have gone into it. And I was just reading a report from McKinsey. A vast majority of those adoptions have turned out to be a failure. So when we go in detail, we'll discuss like how do we define these failures and this. But the thing is, we are using it, and on the other side, investments are going into it. And on the other side, the organizations are considering it to be a failure. Quite interesting. So one of the most important topics of today. So I think this is the very right moment that when we discuss this in the context of not only the adoption and the ethical part of it, but what should be the way forward for us as users, as industry, and as global citizens. What should we do? How should we, be on the safe side while we adopt and evolve? So I think this is what we'll be discussing today.
Wonderful, sir. Actually, you've targeted my first question of the first topic. You've just mentioned that. The topic is the rapid evolution of AI and its societal impact. And my question was supposedly that you just asked, how do you foresee AI reshaping society over the next 5 years? So that was my first question. So do you want to answer it first because you've just started it? So having word
Yes.
after from
Yeah.
you, then we can move on to the other trainers for the speakers for the same question.
Sure. I would love to. So the thing is, let's see what's happening around. You know, I belong to a class, a family of the technologies, if I call it technology, uh, which is termed as disruptive technologies, right? So they are called disruptive technologies because they're disrupting the way the planet, is being inhabited by us all. So when I was at Accenture is one of the leading consulting companies in the world for technology, cybersecurity, and AI. So I was one of the founding members for the Center of Excellence of Accenture when we brought it to Adelaide in South Australia. So I'm based in Adelaide, by the way. So there, we identified the disruptive technologies and we created a framework which we call TQ. Just like we have IQ, intelligence quotient, we have SQ, social quotient, we have EQ, which is emotional quotient. So we also came up with something called TQ, technology quotient. And this technology quotient comprises 13 independent dimensions which are reshaping this planet. And AI stands at the top. The others, to give you an example, are cybersecurity, metaverse, and there are others as well. So now the thing is, the advancements are coming so fast that, yes, the utility is there, but on the other side, the risks in terms of cybersecurity, the risk in terms of privacy exposure, the risks in terms of changing the culture. And if I may give an example of philosophical drift, what we are facing here, because in the academia as well, in the industry as well, we all use the generative AI every day. It's a it's a philosophical shift in the cognitive process that we are undergoing. I think we are a generation of all our age when we, learned how to write essay on paper. But our children, if we ask them to write something, they write in computer, in a digital form, right? So we are
They
probably
don't
the
feel
last.
comfortable writing down. Very
Exactly.
true.
It is good to use tools and technologies, but today, if you give them a piece of paper and pen and ask them to write a leave application from the school or write something, they struggle. I sometimes test this on my children, on some other young fellows, and I'm surprised they can't. Because on the paper, you can't press delete. On the paper, you can't backspace, font change, ChatGPT, you can't. So this is a philosophical drift that the generation is facing. But
Yeah.
now to make it, I mean, don't consider me like a critique only, but to make it worse, what has happened now is the young generation, because I supervise PhD at the University of Adelaide as well. So when we ask them to write something, to bring something to us, the experience is very different what it used as compared to what it used to be years back. So now they can't give us something without discussing with ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude. Where is the thought process going on? We can't delegate. So remember one thing. We can consider it as a large database as of today, but when it comes to the heuristics, the real creativity part of it, that is the legacy of
Yeah.
humans. So again, I don't want to go into the philosophical debates of natural versus artificial intelligence, but to answer the question here is, as we evolve, we need to protect our the integrity of our thoughts, We need to make sure this advancement stays ethical. We all have gone through the latest news of how the AI process, the agents go rogue, and they're not even in control of their own inventors, right? And latest examples, you just heard one news day before yesterday, and this is happening. So the thing is, the topic of ethical AI is an open topic as of today. To be honest, we are helpless as of now. When we look towards the policymaking side of it, different parts of the world, because let's compare what's happening, right? Different part of the world are responding different way. Even in Australia, we just announced the Office of AI last week. And then in Pakistan, when we were there, we have established a digital authority, Pakistan Digital Authority. But when it comes to AI, the policy still needs to be there in a mature form. But then if we look into the emerging nations in the world, for example, when we talk about EU is one region who is really shipping fast. So in order to, uh, uh, I don't want to, step into some other speakers' topics, but the regulations, how do we regulate AI? So EU has come up with something called regulatory sandboxing. And I'm working with the government of Estonia for one consulting part of it, because they are in the EU. They have set a deadline of 31st of December 2026, where regulatory sandboxing is a mandatory requirement for all the member countries now. And they have to implement it by 31st of December 2026 this year. So they are moving very fast. On the other side, there are countries who are experimenting with it, but when it comes to the policy making side of it, we still struggle. Now, when we talk about the ethical part, you can't manage something if you can't control it, and you can't control something if you cannot measure it. So the first step is to be able to measure how much we have digressed from those ethical, drifts, as I mentioned, those phenomena. So that is one of the open problems that we need to address at purely a research level per se. And then the standards, of course, are evolving, such as ISO is doing a good job for 2001. They have put down good things. So I will leave it here by just summarizing the answer. Like, while the technologies evolve, we are positive that the world is, moving fast, and we are, able to do so many things which we were not able to do as even individuals or teams. But at the same side, if we do not hone this well, it will become a nightmare. So that is where we need to think in systems and structures, which we need to establish at our own level, so that we are able to come up with these ethical frameworks. Thank you.
Very true, sir. Thank you so much for your contribution. And you're very correctly saying that the creative part of the that the human element actually is getting compromised, because we've stopped thinking, we've stopped trying. I mean, वही वाली application वाली बात आपकी, if you are supposed to write an application, we are even not thinking to write it down at the first place. You would directly go to ChatGPT, put it down, write an application for me, and there you go. So you're very right when you're saying that it's going to be a nightmare if today we're not going to think about our creative abilities to take care of them. Anyways, my upcoming question is for Asad Ikram Sahab. While AI creates efficiencies, it also raises concerns around employment and irregularities. Do you believe AI will create more opportunities than it eliminates?
जी अच्छा, जब भी whenever there's a new technology that comes in, there's a shift in the employment landscape. So with AI, to be able to have AI, you need more computing power, you need data centers. To build data centers, you need civil engineers. To look after the heating requirements, cooling requirements of data centers, you need mechanical engineers, right? So, and for running the data centers itself, you need data scientists and computer engineers as well. So, वो जो चीज़ है ना, so they're going to be more requirement of these specialities. And I think that is where we as a nation, जो हम कहते हैं कि जो हमारे पास बहुत youth है, we should actually be able to train people to get into these areas. So that answers that question of yes, जहाँ पे एक जगह हम कह रहे हैं कि there'll be loss of jobs जो अभी नजर आ भी रहा है, but then बहुत सारी companies ने निकाल के फिर वापस दोबारा लिए भी हैं, and there's a reason to that. The reason is because and this I'm sure you also see, you give one of your employees something to do, and he or she goes to ChatGPT, gets out a nice report, gives it to you, and when you read it, you say, oh God, इसमें तो ये चीजें नहीं है, या इसमें ये डेटा गलत है, for example. So you have to sort of redo it if you really want something of quality out of it. So that's where people realize that human nature has to be there. दूसरी चीज जो आपका पहले भी क्वेश्चन था ना, impact on society. तो जहाँ पे स्पीड इंक्रीज होगी, जो होती है एआई के साथ, इसमें कोई शक नहीं है, because it can go out, get a lot of data, and give you very nice information out of it that you can use to make decisions. But what if you end up making quickly a decision which is wrong? खास तौर पे ऐसे एरियाज में जहाँ पे हेल्थ आ जाती है, या किसी की लाइफ इन्वॉल्व है, या किसी का करियर इन्वॉल्व है, जैसे एम्प्लॉयमेंट है फॉर एग्जांपल. So that means you have to have a human in the loop to sort of oversee what AI is doing. So that means you still need that human there, right? अच्छा, people would say कि अच्छा ठीक है, जो mundane jobs हैं उसमें से निकाल दो humans को और ऊपर supervisor बना दो human. तो भाई जब उसने नीचे वाले काम के भी किए नहीं उस ह्यूमन ने, तो ऊपर वाला काम वो कैसे कर सकेगा? ठीक है, which brings us to this point कि you need to still have humans come in on, as fresh graduates, come in and do all those roles to get up to a stage where they can harness the power of AI. That becomes important. दूसरी चीज ये होगी है जो बाबर साहब ने बात की, वो कल्चरल चेंज वाली, and that is more to do with countries like us who don't have control over AI data and data centers and the algos. Because our younger generation, if I tell my kid to, tell me about something, कि फलानी चीज खाने के लिए हलाल है कि नहीं, for example, तो वो क्या करता है? He'll just go and ask ChatGPT. What if the data in there is wrong?
True.
So that is one of the greatest threats we have. What if he goes there and says कि जी ये जो ना मुस्लिम इस्लाम तो पहले ही सारा तलवार से था, ठीक है, Sufism is just a fallacy sort of a thing. What do? So we have to be very careful in using this. Yeah. Not just careful, we also have to, I think, and this is something that individuals can also do to some extent, but governments का ज़्यादा काम आता है कि जो data feed होता है into these data centers, that has to be according to our narrative, जो हमारा narrative है. अच्छा, इसके बाद एक और चीज़ जो बहुत important है वो ये है कि जब भी आप ऐसे के tools इस्तेमाल करते हैं, like we said, कि creativity कम हो रही है. What is also happening is कि आपके जो analytical skills हैं वो खत्म हो रही हैं.
Very true.
And that is what you need for problem solving. And that is what humans are supposed to be able to do themselves.
True.
So, and that is a skill जो बहुत तेजी से निकलती जा रही है. क्योंकि जब तक आप और जब आप करते हैं ना, जब आप ऐसे लिखते हैं, चाहे वो हिस्ट्री के ऐसे क्यों ना हो या कोई सोशल साइंसेस के क्यों ना हो, let alone being maths or physics, that is where you learn the art of breaking down a problem, looking at the actual, analyzing the problem and then coming out with solutions and putting solutions together. तो अगर हमने ये काम छोड़ दिया and we let the machines do it, so you can imagine the sort of decisions that we're going to get. The other thing is that when we as humans take decisions, there's always an emotional element to it. It's not simple 1 + 1 = 2 sort of a thing. So when you have machines help you with decisions or give you options of decisions, okay, ये 1 2 3 decision में से choose कर लो, तो वो जो human element of emotions है वो तो निकल गया बीच में से, और यहाँ जो हमारा relationships के element है उसके अंदर वो भी निकल गया. So I think those are the impacts that are there. And then, of course, वो छुरी से आप you can do good and bad with छुरी. Similarly, with AI also, you can do a lot good at a much faster rate with it, and that's where this governance comes in. कि इसको आप govern कैसे करोगे, control कैसे करो, उसके अपने भी और challenges हैं that we'll of course debate more within this webinar, inshallah.
Very true, sir. Thank you so very much. Wonderful discussion on that. मगर दो चार सवाल ऐसे crop up हो गए as you were speaking about it. When we were young, there were only 2-3 professions or maybe studies that we were supposed to do. बच्चा बड़ा होगा तो डॉक्टर बनेगा, इंजीनियर बनेगा, या फिर कुछ नहीं कर सका तो बैंकर या टीचर तो बनी जाए. So these were the basic professions that we had in mind growing up. Since you've just mentioned कि data centers banenge with AI and so many things happening around, so obviously there are a number of new employment opportunities available in the market and will be available in the market, which our market does not know right now. मतलब एक normal बच्चे को तो नहीं पता. अब आप लोग AI से related हैं, you can guide people around you, but what do you think? How will the masses be knowing what real employment opportunities for futuristic employment opportunities will be there going forward? How do you think, number one, how do you think this will reach out to general public? क्योंकि हर बच्चा AI अभी भी बच्चे डिफरेंट उन्हीं फील्ड्स में जा रहे हैं. वही हमारी जो मेंटालिटी थी, जो हमारे पेरेंट्स ने हमें बताया, फिर हम अभी जिनके बच्चे A levels O levels में, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मैं तो यही गाइड करती हूँ, बेटा बिकम अ डॉक्टर और एन इंजीनियर और गो टू कंप्यूटर साइंस और maybe you can go become a financial analyst. So this is what I guide my kids as well. So what do you think, how this will reach out to the general public, people like us who are not good in technology? Number one. Number two, क्या कहते हैं, ये एनालिटिकल स्किल्स के ऊपर, फॉर एग्जांपल आपने कहा कि हम हर चीज के लिए चैट जीपीटी को रीच आउट कर रहे हैं. यस, वेरी ट्रू. बट हाउ कैन पर्सनल यूज बी एथिकली डन? व्हाट limitations or boundaries can be applied to different Gemini or ChatGPT or various tools available in the market to everyone? उसके ऊपर क्या हम लिमिटेशंस बाउंड्रीज लगा सकते हैं कि लोग अपनी पर्सनल प्रॉब्लम्स या कुछ नेगेटिव सॉल्यूशंस ना मांगे? बहुत सारी चीजें सर डिस्कस होती हैं चैट जीपीटी से. सो दीस टू क्वेश्चंस.
अच्छा, डू यू वांट मी टू आंसर दीस टू?
या
ओके. अच्छा, वो जो पहली आपने बात की ना, हाउ डज द जनरल पब्लिक नो ऑफ द अपॉर्चुनिटीज? I think what is already happening is that our kids are just much more informed than we were. They know exactly क्या हो रहा है दुनिया में. See, and I know of kids of my friends जो non-tech होते हुए भी, there's one that I know of, A levels अभी उसने किया है, he's got a admission in a good university abroad, लेकिन वो जाने से पहले भी उसके पास टाइम था, and one day he just thought, let me do something on AI, and he's developed an application that he's now already been able to get a few companies on board to use that application. It's more of a business management application. तो इस तरह के लोग हैं out there. फिर ये हुआ कि जिस तरह एक presidential initiative था AI के ऊपर, so a lot of people came to know कि AI में क्या कुछ है. I think that is something that we need to do on a larger scale, and the Ministry of IT is working on it. ये नहीं कि नहीं कर रहे. Maybe just more awareness, considering the number of people that we have in the country. That's required. And there are organizations like ours, for example, we run courses on AI, but that is more to do with people who already have an IT background, just to equip them to get into the AI, mainstream employment track में जा सकें. So that is what is happening. जो आपका दूसरा सवाल था, which was to do, I'm sorry,
सर वो मैंने पूछा था कि पर्सनल यूज ऑफ वेरियस टूल्स, हाउ कैन यू मेक इट रिस्पांसिबल?
I think that's a very interesting sort of a use case that you have brought up. I think those sort of questions can you can always put a limit कि किस तरह के सवाल जाएंगे, लेकिन अनफॉर्चुनेटली क्योंकि चैट जीपीटी, जेमिनी, ये सारे जो हैं ये हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं है, इनके पाकिस्तानियों के कंट्रोल में नहीं है. ठीक है, ये सारी वेस्टर्न दुनिया के ही बने में हैं. तो इस तरह के कंट्रोल, इस तरह के सवालों के ऊपर कंट्रोल्स तो वही लगा सकते हैं. हमारे लगाना, आई डोंट नो, मे बी बाबर साहब नोज इफ टेक्निकली इट्स पॉसिबल टू द नेशनल, जो भी वी हैव ऑल दोस टूल्स टू control data in and out.
The governance structure, the national governance structure.
अच्छा गवर्नेंस स्ट्रक्चर जो नेशनल गवर्नेंस स्ट्रक्चर्स है ना, अगेन बिकॉज वी डोंट कंट्रोल दीज ना. अब देखो यूट्यूब को हम क्या बंद कर सकते हैं? उसका कंटेंट को सारा बंद कर सकते हैं? एज अ नेशन वी कैन नॉट, इसलिए हम टेक्नोलॉजिकली पीछे हैं. अगर हम इन एरियाज में आगे होते तो फिर सब कुछ हम पूरी दुनिया को भी हम ड्राइव कर रहे होते. तो आई थिंक टेक्निकली आगे निकलना बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है टू बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ टू डू इट. अदरवाइज देखें ना, आप एज गवर्नमेंट जाते हैं, कहते हैं कि भाई यूट्यूब से चैट जीपीटी से भी कहते हैं ये चीज़ें प्लीज़ हमारे मुल्क पे ना आए. ठीक है, वो आगे से कहते हैं इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल बिकॉज दिस. तो अगर आपको पता होगा तो आप उसके जवाब दे सकते हैं ना. अगर आप उस लेवल पे नहीं है आपकी वर्कफोर्स, तो आप उसके साथ क्या डिबेट करेंगे? तो आई थिंक दैट इज, बट आई थिंक जो आपने बात की ना, सो इम्पोर्टेंट टू हैव समथिंग लाइक दैट. इस तरह के फिल्टर्स ऐसे होने चाहिए कि
एग्जैक्टली,
आप इस
जैसे
तरह
हम
के
यूट्यूब के
सवाल.
चैनल्स बंद कर देते हैं, कुछ ऐसे हमें चैनल्स हाईलाइट होते हैं तो
हाँ
गवर्नमेंट
बिल्कुल.
टेक्स द एक्शन टू लिमिट दैट चैनल और मे बी डिसकंटिन्यू दैट चैनल, उनका लाइसेंस खत्म कर दिया जाता है. तो सम सॉर्ट ऑफ, पता नहीं ऐसे क्रॉप अप हुआ दिमाग में आपकी बातों से तो
नहीं,
मैंने पूछ
I
लिया.
think it's very, Babar sir may be able to shed some light on it. He is the most
Okay.
techy amongst us.
इधर मैं if allowed मैं एक छोटी सी यहाँ पे एग्जांपल दूंगा सो दैट के वी अंडरस्टैंड के पाकिस्तान के अंदर मतलब हम किस स्टेज पे हैं और कैसे इसको डील करें. तो मुझे खुद इसका इत्तेफाक ऐसे हुआ कि जब मैं पाकिस्तान में आई वाज द सीईओ ऑफ नेशनल इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी बोर्ड. आपको पता है एआई को यूज करने से पहले हमारे पास एआई मॉडल्स होने चाहिए एंड जिस तरह से असद साहब ने फरमाया कि डाटा जो है वो बड़ा जरूरी है. यहाँ पे डाटा कहते हैं ऑस्ट्रेलिया यानी कि डेटा बहुत जरूरी है. नाउ हमारे पास गवर्नेंस के लिए यानी कि अभी हम डिजिटल गवर्नेंस की जब इम्प्लीमेंटेशन कर रहे थे तो अगर आप एक रियल लाइफ सिनेरियो देखें, एक सड़क के ऊपर खुदा न खास्ता एक इंसिडेंट होता है, एक एक्सीडेंट होता है. नाउ एम्बुलेंस तक इंफॉर्मेशन कैसे जाती है? एम्बुलेंस बिफोर इट कम्स टू द पेशेंट उसको ये पता नहीं होता कि मैं किसके पास आ रही हूँ. राइट जब एक ट्रूली एआई बेस्ड हम डिजिटल सोसाइटी की बात कर रहे हैं तो एम्बुलेंस शुड नो बिफोर इट. Sorry, if everyone can put the speaker on mute. But anyways, let me go. तो जब एम्बुलेंस को ये पता नहीं है कि मैं किस पेशेंट को पे करने जा रही हूँ, दे कैन नॉट प्रिपेयर बिफोर हैंड कि हम किसको पे करने जा रहे हैं. उनके पास उस पेशेंट की हिस्ट्री नहीं है. वाई? बिकॉज द डाटा ऑफ द ट्रैफिक पुलिस and the data of the health department and the data of the police is not integrated. अच्छा, इसी तरह से जब एम्बुलेंस उसको पिक करती है तो ट्रैफिक में टनल क्रिएट नहीं हो सकती. व्हाई? बिकॉज के द डाटा इज नॉट इंटीग्रेटेड विद ट्रैफिक पुलिस. अच्छा, उसके बाद एम्बुलेंस को हॉस्पिटल जाने से पहले ये पता नहीं होता कि मैंने इमरजेंसी वार्ड में जाना है तो वहां पे बेड अवेलेबल है या नहीं. और जो डॉक्टर उस स्पेसिफिक प्रॉब्लम को एड्रेस करेगा और इस पेशेंट की हिस्ट्री से रिलेटेड वो अवेलेबल है या नहीं. एआई बेस्ड डिजिटल सोसाइटी के अंदर ये सारी अरेंजमेंट्स बिफोर हैंड होनी चाहिए और होती हैं. दिस इज व्हाट वी वांट टू इम्प्लीमेंट इन पाकिस्तान. लेकिन इसका फर्स्ट स्टेप जो है हमें भी उसको सॉल्व करना है. और वो फर्स्ट स्टेप ये है कि वी नीड टू क्रिएट अ डाटा एक्सचेंज लेयर जिसमें तमाम डिपार्टमेंट्स इसको इम्प्लीमेंट करें. एंड आई एम ग्लैड कि अंडर द डीप प्रोजेक्ट हम उसको इम्प्लीमेंट कर रहे थे जब मैं आया था एंड इट्स गोइंग वेल. लेकिन प्रॉब्लम इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की नहीं है, प्रॉब्लम उस डाटा को शेयर करने की है जो कि मैं मेरे आने तक लास्ट ईयर में आया था तो ये प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं हुआ था. द डिपार्टमेंट्स डिड
नहीं
नॉट
सर,
वांट.
अभी तक नहीं हुआ है. अभी तक नहीं हुआ है. लेट मी टेल यू, बिकॉज ऑल डिपार्टमेंट्स आर like they are so much secure about their confidential data that they do
राइट.
not want to integrate the data and create a solution. So God help us.
जी. और आई कैन, और आखिर सॉरी टाइम ज्यादा लग गया लेकिन मैं एक छोटी सी आखिर में बात करना चाहूंगा. इस चीज को रिजॉल्व करने के लिए द हाईएस्ट फॉरम इन द कंट्री प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब तक हम गए और उन्होंने हमें एंडोर्स किया. लेकिन जब इम्प्लीमेंटेशन के लिए नीचे आते हैं तो द डिपार्टमेंट्स अनफॉर्चुनेटली आर नॉट विलिंग टू गिव दैट डाटा. इसलिए डाटा गवर्नेंस इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर आप जितना मर्जी बना लें लेकिन डाटा गवर्नेंस जब तक नहीं होगी तब तक हम उस यूज केस पाकिस्तान में उसको विजुलाइज नहीं कर सकते. दिस इज अ हार्ड रियलिटी.
True that.
Thank you,
Very
Asif.
true. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, I'd like to ask question from Hussain Hassalini Saha about the topic of standards and shaping ethical AI. International standards such as ISO, ISCO, OECD, AI principles, UNESCO recommendations, many things like, AI ethics, NIST, AI management framework. There's so many things in the market right now. Why are global standards becoming essential rather than optional, sir? Why do you think it's essential for governments and corporates, maybe?
I think it links up to what we were talking earlier, especially जो societal impact की हम बात कर रहे थे. If I was to
जी सर.
just pick one example over there, which is very close to my heart, if you look at, the people, the young generation, पहले ये होता था, you had everyone playing in the streets, there were friends, human friends. और फिर people started getting the digital technologies, they started getting laptops, they started getting the PS2s and games in the house. So then they moved indoors. That thing broke up. And now
Yeah.
you have even that interaction on WhatsApp and thing disappearing, because now they've got an AI friend, an AI companion. And that tool has now replaced the human interface that was there. And that is having all of these impacts that we are talking about. It's further disconnecting the people. तो वो
True.
उसका जो trust level है, उसका जो relationship है, is now with these tools rather than, and this is the generation that is coming. This is the one that will take us further ahead in the future, lead in the future. So we have to be conscious of that, and that is where I think, all of these regulations also are trying to address the fact that we need governance, we need ethical principles built into all of the work that is happening. We most of us know, Grok was literally uncontrolled. It didn't have any controls, and one of the negative outcomes of that was that we saw people putting in photos of people, women, and then getting let me just park it over there, that they were able to do whatever they wanted with those photos, get fabricate images. And that is not something that you really want your unhindered use of tools. So that is where the regulation needs to come in to control these tools. That is where the sort of the tone at the top, that needs to come in. And yes, in Pakistan we are slow. We have seen that our cybersecurity policy took 10 years to come out. From 2011, when the first draft came out, till 2021, when the final national cybersecurity policy came out. We have been still waiting for the personal data protection policy act for the last 6 years now, 7th year going on. So these things will take time. We can't really wait for the government to come out with these. The principles are there. We know about the principles. We know how to use these principles. And that is where I think organizations need to address this implement these principles within all of their work, their solutions, the tools that they use. These principles are embedded in all of these frameworks. So right at the top of the list, I would put ISO 42001, because that is also certifiable. Organizations, if they are serious about using these tools, they can get themselves certified against it to confirm that they have implemented these principles. Then you have all of the other principles. So the US ones, the NIST framework is there. You've got in the EU, the EU AI Framework Act is there. That is also very good. Even if we look closer to home, you have Saudi and you have UAE and the Middle East countries, the Far East. Everyone is in that same, I would say, journey of building governance level frameworks which need to be implemented and need to be adhered. In Pakistan, again, the challenge, like Babar Saab said, went to the Prime Minister got it endorsed over there. But for that to trickle down and become a reality, I think all of us have experienced. Asad Saab also was sharing about it. Saima will share more in that regards. So we have to actually leverage these things. Now, I'll just talk of a few, common threads that are there in these principles. So it's risk-based, very, very important for organizations to assess the risk that are posed through use of these tools and solutions. And then there is the fact, we've been talking of HITL, human in the loop. We need human on the loop. That oversight needs to come from the human. I know when I say this, I've said it at different forums, that we need that human element of oversight, of regulating the use of these tools and how they work. So the challenge has been that, we can't be waiting, we can't be stopping. This is slowing us down. We can't slow progress. We can't slow down the use of AI. And it's not about slowing it down. I think these principles, these requirements are like the brakes on a car. They actually enable you to go faster if used appropriately. So I think that's the sort of context that we need to take in it. And through that will also come the fact that, fairness, non-discrimination, accountability, and something that I think we do not value enough in Pakistan is privacy. The data protection, because there's no data protection regulation in place, we do not recognize that our personally identifiable information is invaluable. We need to actually ensure that this is protected. And we have the PICA, the Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act, which is now trying to, address actually misuse of this information. But we have to ensure that we are ethically taking care of these things from the organization level. While we do not have regulations in place, we still have bodies like ICMAP, like ICAP, like others, SECP and all, who can actually take the lead in this. And I think this is one of those initiatives where we are having this dialogue today.
Thank you so much, sir. But there is one question that is cropping up after, listening to you. You've just mentioned that these regulatory bodies are doing wonderful. 42,001 is the best framework that, organizations can go with. But say, for example, SDGs were there. For ESG and sustainability came IFRS S1, S2. We all know about it. It was voluntary for for all the globe,
Yes.
but later on it started becoming mandatory for different countries. So as it's happening in Pakistan also. A few of the industries are supposed to be reporting as a mandatory requirement of S1, S2. Do you think keeping ethical AI in mind, do you think data protection and privacy, or maybe other tools and standards and frameworks, do you think those should also be mandatory on a few of the institutions or industries, maybe to start with in Pakistan also, so that we start complying with it? Because until something becomes mandatory, jab tak hamare pe danda nahi aata, we do not want to actually start working on it. So what do you think about it, sir?
Yes, absolutely. So, and the way to go about it would be that we start with the interest companies, the companies that are listed on the stock exchange, because there you have shareholders. And these are large enough organizations, large enough companies to be able to invest in these things. We have seen on the FPCC, I have been there, we are seeing organizations, especially in the manufacturing sector, that they are starting to leverage automate the regulation of these, across the board, how they'll be used. So bringing that, to danda apne kaha, of regulation and requirement at that level is extremely, extremely important. We must start with the big wigs over there. and then that can trickle down. But we also, I think, need to make it make them responsible to ensure that the common man, their customer, the person for whom all of this is being done, that is their data is being protected. They are being protected. So
Yeah,
customer centricity, we talk about it, but we don't really see it when the bottom line, when the focus is on the bottom line.
very true, sir. I would come to Miss Simon Naveed in a moment. I'd like to have, some answer from Babar Saab also on this particular topic. And ma'am, apologies, just coming back to you. Babar Saab.
Thank you, Ma'am Samri and Ma'am Simon. There's a question: how can we make sure that client data are secured when we use AI application during audit or related assignments? Important question and pertinent, and especially on the platform of ICMA as well. कि हम इसको कैसे करें? But I'll tell you कि अभी how the rest of the world is doing it. For example, government of Estonia. Estonia is generally rated as one of the most leading digital nations in the world. So, so we were working closely with the ETCB. ETCB is their like हमारा FBR है ना पाकिस्तान में. The ETCB stands for Estonian Taxation and Customs Board. उनका वो इकट्ठा है. तो the way they do is कि आपका जो personal data है, first of all, if even a government agency, I mean, let alone मैं किसी private person की बात नहीं कर रहा, even if a government agency accesses your personal data, first of all, उसकी access, उसकी justification होनी चाहिए, उसका वो केस बनता है. Second, as a citizen, you have right to know, और आपके पास वो एक्सेस है कि आपका डाटा किसने एक्सेस किया, कब एक्सेस किया और क्यों एक्सेस किया. सो उसकी कंप्लीट सैनिटाइजेशन भी होती है. लेकिन अगर आपका पर्सनल डाटा PII जिसको कहते हैं पर्सनली आइडेंटिफाइबल इंफॉर्मेशन, तो अगर वो एक्सेस हुई है तो आपके पास उसका पूरा मैप रियल टाइम में अवेलेबल है. एंड इफ यू वांट तो आपको उसका ट्रिगर भी आता है. और इफ यू वांट टू पुट ऑन फॉर एग्जांपल कि मेरा नेम चेक जो है इवन टैक्सेशन ऑफिस में कोई ना कर सके, एंड इफ तो आई कैन सेलेक्ट देयर, एंड अगर कोई उसको एक्सेस करने की कोशिश करेगा एंड इफ इट इज रिक्वायर्ड इवन फॉर लॉ एनफोर्समेंट, तो मेरे पास उसका वो आएगा
Notification आएगा.
नोटिफिकेशन नहीं, मुझसे पहले वो एक्सेस लिया जाएगा, मुझसे
Permission.
सॉरी परमिशन लिया जाएगा कि
Yeah,
मैं उसको दूंगा एक्सेस या नहीं. तो
true.
इसलिए there are solutions जिसके ऊपर काम हो रहा है, yet nothing is perfect. So basically 4 pillars आप समझ लें कि एक तो ये कि जीरो रिटेंशन होती है, यानी कि कोई एक्सेस करे तो उसको सेव नहीं किया जाएगा. नंबर 2, जो फ्रेमवर्क्स लेवल तक जिसे हम एथिकल की बात कर रहे हैं, उस तो ISO 42001 ऑफ कोर्स कंप्लाई किया जाता है, तो उसको इंटीग्रेट किया जाता है ISO 27001 के साथ, इंफॉर्मेशन सिक्योरिटी के ISMS के. और फिर एक उसका इम्पैक्ट असेसमेंट और सैनिटाइजेशन जिसका मैंने जिक्र किया है. तो बेसिकली ये वो मैकेनिज्म्स हैं जिसकी वजह से वी कैन ट्राई टू इंश्योर कि क्लाइंट डेटा इज सिक्योर. थैंक यू.
Great answer, sir. And I'm so carried away thinking about, Estonia, since it's the most digitally equipped nation. Obviously, they must be having, tools and techniques to safeguard their AI and, obviously, safeguard the requirement. Personal information of the people there. So impact assessment and sanitization, I hope it comes into Pakistan also someday. And, different organization accessing our data should be asking for at least for our permission before getting, onto it and maybe using it for their own sake. Anyways, my next question to Ms. Simon Navidi is just an outgrowth of this question only. Ma'am, we are witnessing regulations such as EU AI Act alongside evolving approaches in, as Babarsa just mentioned, Estonia, US, UK, Singapore, China. I mean, there are a number of countries who are actually working on digitization and they're digitally equipped also to some extent. Do you believe global AI regulations is heading towards harmonization or fragmentation? Because there are too many things like happening in different countries at various levels. Do you really think that this is bringing a harmonization of like digitization or AI tools, or fragmentation?
Thank you very much for your question. All of the frameworks are well researched and have been established after thorough recce. So they are complementing each other. They are not actually competing with each other. So converging into a same level of benefit on a wider base for the organization. We must refer them as a base guideline and then adapt in our organization according to the dynamics, the governing principles, and the employee adoption rate within the organization. I believe they are converging and being beneficial for us on a larger scale.
Okay, ma'am. So, which regulatory development do you believe will have the greatest global influence over next decade?
Basically, if we see the ISO 42001, they serve as a guideline for us on the operational layer. And if we review the NIST AI risk management framework, they gives us the classification and the risk tiering for our use cases and what should be the guardrails for adapting it. So we have to adapt the right level of rules applicable to our scenario. Majorly, 42001 and NIST AI framework has been our governing principle till now.
So, ma'am, do you really think that all these frameworks are being, understood, are being like shared with the whole world in the similar context it is being done in their own countries? Do you really think that it's actually reaching to our country with the same perspective at the same level? We have the similar understandings. Uh, Maybe you know what they're actually doing. Do you think that these countries have the responsibility to come maybe to the level of the country they were going to, introduce their principles to, and maybe guide them how to use it? This responsibility is on the shoulder of those countries.
See, principles are much easier to be written in the documented form for us. When we talk about converting them into the practice,
Yeah,
it is the place where it actually happens. The governance
yeah,
reality test is when no one is watching us, starting from the procurement of the technology and then the deployment, implementation phase. Even post deployment monitoring has to be done. And in case of any risk incident, how did we handle that incident response? That whole tier defines the practicing of the governance within the organization. So when we talk about the implementation of such frameworks in our scenario, we first have to classify our AI use case according to the risk tiering defined within these frameworks. Obviously, the low risk AI moves more fast with no stringent guardrails, I would say. While the high stake AI, like we are getting the decisioning done through our AI use cases in case of hiring approvals, in case of credit grants, in case of safety exceptions or safety handling, that requires real level of scrutiny before converting it into an actionable agent. For example, if we see, like we built a chatbot that answers the FAQs within the organization versus we deploy an algorithm that shortlists the job candidates and forwards it for next level of approvals. This is the same AI technology, but it has widely different consequences. We cannot use one size fit for all because either it will slow our businesses down or will leave the real risk unmanaged for us. So we can't apply the blanket rule for all use cases. We have to risk tier our cases. When we talk about the governance, we also have to define the clear ownership of our use case. Generally, what happens when we ask about who owns the AI risk within the organization. We usually get the silence over it, or there will be varied answers coming from the audience. We talk about governance, we say it's everyone's job. When we call it everyone's job, no one is actually owning it.
Takes responsibility. Yes, it's very true.
So we have to name the person or the committee or the existing risk function for specific AI use case to define the accountability for it. When we were talking about the societal impact of AI, one thing I would like to add here, the accountability will become more dismissible. Nobody will be owning it. They'll be giving a straight call that it's system decided. I don't know how it happened, but it's the AI who has taken the decision. So the accountability may get misused in that scenario. Obviously, human in loop is the answer to it, that we have to put the review in form of human oversight. Consider 500 of AI flagged decisions in a day or in a few hours. Each can't be the oversight. It will become a rubber stamp or a liability shield in terms of oversight. So we have to review when we are putting human in the loop. Does that review process allows the time, the authority, and the required information to the decision maker in order to override the system decision? Otherwise, in the end, what happens, human is there to absorb the blame, not the exercising of the judgment in that scenario. So human in the loop also needs to be built very carefully. One more thing, when we convert the principles into the practices, we talk about the fairness, we talk about the transparency. Very few instances we can quote where a principle or a governance check has actually blocked the deployment decision. If our governance framework can never say a no to a business case, it's only in the document, not in action. We have to define the way or the mechanism through which our AI use case can be audited. Like if we are going to deploy a forecasting model, we have to define the test cases across the outcome, the demand-driven factors, whether our model is performing accurately, just like human, if the demand-driven factors are being changed or not. Even after deployment, what happens? The model has the tendency to degrade. So once the model is deployed, it's not yet accomplished or finished. We have to keep monitoring it, that whether the decision is still staying relevant or accurate, whether the new factors are being auto embedded in the model or not. If not, we have to revise the implementation or tune the model according to the factors.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Why
So you can
just add
okay.
Yeah, sure, one more thing that I was observing in the conversations, that
yes, ma'am,
whenever there comes a scenario that we need to share the data, there is a fear. Plus, are we allowed? Should we do it? Will it hold up to the level of governance? Our frameworks allow it, our policies allow it or not? We must undertake that decision consciously, because the adaptation is moving quite fast. If we won't do it, we will lag behind in our pace. And why the guardrail or the care is important? Because it is all upholding the brand trust within it. And if the trust in the brand is lost, that's your main competitive asset. We cannot undo it for years. So we have
wonderfully said, ma'am. Trust
very
is the basically this is something that we actually are looking forward to from all this conversation of ethical AI. It's something that we need to safeguard, and which is the trust of the data. Thank you so much, ma'am. We have a question. Whoever would love to answer, मुझे बताइएगा. What practical governance mechanisms should organizations establish before deploying AI at scale? What practical governance mechanism?
Shall I answer that?
Yeah, sure, please.
So, whenever we talk about the deployment of AI within the organization, we generally talk about the governance in our internal setups. We don't talk about the governance with the external to the organization. We must govern the vendors as well, in addition to our internal department regulation. When we adapt any tool, we are usually in a SaaS platform based ecosystem. We have deployed it and we have been using it. Suddenly, you got to know that the vendor has added some AI models into that tool and it has started malfunctioning. There comes the vulnerability or the incident. And at that time, the accountability gap comes into to the play. Vendor says we just provide the model and it functions equally, and the organization says we haven't deployed that model ourselves. It's the vendor built in. Where to actually park the accountability? So the good governance has to close that gap. The liability clause, the audit rights, the upgrade mechanism. Even we must question our vendors that does your tool support AI? If yes, which models it is trained on, how you have tested the bias of the model, and what will happen if something will go wrong? How soon we can get notified on it, how we can prevent it from digression. So that's should be inbuilt.
Now I think we should move on towards the a new round that I've very recently introduced in the last 3-4 webcons. We've had that, and we call it rapid fire round. And I'm going to start with Asad Ikram Sahab. Asad Sahab, just like any other rapid fire round, this round is also going to be a one word answer or maybe one sentence answer, and it's not going to give you a lot of time to think. I'll ask you a question, and there you go, answer. I'll ask the second question, there you go, the answer. So there are 10 questions I'm going to ask each speaker. I hope it's something that will also, challenge you. I love it. I don't know how you're going to take it. So my first question is, Asasab, will AI create more jobs or eliminate more jobs?
Create more jobs.
What's one leadership quality AI can never replace?
Integrity, honesty.
Okay, but be quick. Which industry will benefit most from ethical AI?
Health should.
Wonderful. What's one regulation every business leader should understand?
I think it's the UN regulation, because that's the more sort of the UNESCO recommendations of ethics on AI. I think that is something that's
Wonderful. So
for a leadership
we need its
standpoint.
awareness, sir, a lot from your side. Citadel Pathway, I think you should be working on creating the awareness. We're going to support you. Should AI ethics be a board level agenda item?
Oh, yes.
What's one emerging AI trend leaders should pay attention to?
I think using AI for fake, generating fake information.
Oh, great. Is responsible AI a cost or a competitive advantage?
Advantage.
Great. What's the biggest myth about AI transformation?
That it's very simple. That's the myth.
Oh.
People at times think it's going to be
Yeah.
very easy to adapt.
Actually,
It's
I
not.
thought it was not a myth, it was the thing, but it's a myth. Okay, great. Complete this sentence. Organizations that ignore responsible AI today will
just get wiped out in the future.
in the recent future. Thank you so very much, sir. Now we're going to move towards Ms. Simon Avid. And Miss, you know the rules. I'll ask the questions and you have to be very quick in answering them. Question number 1 is, should every organization have an AI governance committee?
Yes.
You just mentioned it. What's the biggest obstacle to enterprise AI adoption?
The training and the right adaptation ways.
Great. What's one global AI framework every CIO should know?
NIST AI framework in Europe Act, EU Act.
Okay. Should employee be trained before AI tools or deployed?
Trained and deployed in iterative mode.
Great. How do you balance innovation and compliance?
Innovation, but not ignoring the compliance while the way forward towards the innovation.
Great. So it should go side by side. What's
Side by
one
side.
skill future IT professionals must develop?
Prompt engineering.
Great. That's something you should know. Should AI generated decisions always be explainable?
Always be supported with the sources used.
Okay, great. If you could automate one business process using AI tomorrow, what would it be?
For us, we are already working on it. Capacity calculation for the factory.
Wonderful. What's your advice to organizations beginning their responsible AI journey?
I would say the guardrails and constant learning and evolution process because it's evolving quite fast.
Wonderful. Now, your turn is done, ma'am. You've done wonderful. Great.
Thank
Now,
you.
my next panelist in the round is Hussain Hassan Ali Saab. Sir, you know the rules. My first question is just coming. What's the greatest technology risk associated with AI today?
Well, that people will not understand the implications and they will continue to use it without knowing that there is
Great. Cybersecurity or AI governance? Which deserves greater board attention?
AI governance.
AI governance. Is cybersecurity included in it if you're going to look into it in a generic mode?
Yes,
Becomes a part of it. Great.
yes, definitely.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Which control should organizations implement before deploying AI?
Data leakage prevention.
Okay, all right.
So
So do you think
confidentiality.
organizations are doing it?
No. So data classification would enable them to do that. But that, that's still a strategy level thing. It doesn't get implemented.
Great, great. It's all only in the documents. Is AI risk fundamentally different from traditional IT risk?
Yes, definitely. It's more of a
Okay, great.
business risk.
It's more of a business risk. Should AI systems undergo mandatory independent audits?
Yes. And that's where ISO 42001 enables that auditability and certifiability.
Great. So I think that is something really required. What's one risk leaders consistently overlook?
I think explainability, ensuring explainability of the solution. So AI is still just a black box. They don't know what's happening behind that.
True. What's the
Inside
most
that.
important principle of responsible AI, sir?
Ethical AI. So,
Ethical AI.
yeah.
Great. So if AI governance fail, who should ultimately be accountable?
Sorry, did I miss anything?
Yes, I'll repeat the question. If AI governance fails, who should ultimately be accountable?
That's so the fact that AI is the people, there are a number of people responsible for the solution, but ultimately it has to, come to why did the governance fail? So it has to come to that, back to that level. It has to be the board and the dedicated AI governance committee that should be responsible.
Wonderful. It can be a cross-departmental or a cross-industry committee where every important head of the department or head of the institution be, part of that committee and become responsible. One prediction about AI risk over the next 5 years.
That it will increase, it will continue to increase. So we need to buckle up and
Great.
actually face up to it.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now our turn is for Babar sir. Babar sir, अभी तो आपसे तो नहीं पूछा ना हमने. We haven't come to you for this
Not
rapid fire,
yet.
have
We
we?
are all waiting to
Not
hear him.
yet.
Not yet.
You're most welcome.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So, sir, there you go. The first question is, should AI strategy begin with technology or business objectives?
Of course, business objectives.
Business
Technology is the
objectives.
last part. Yeah.
Oh, wow. We didn't know that.
Yeah.
Acha, what's the first question every
Because
CEO should
the
ask?
principle is the AI and the technology itself as well is there to support the business, not the other way.
Yeah.
So it
True.
first starts with the business requirements.
Wonderful, wonderful. But we are so much into technology these days that I think business objectives are lying somewhere else and you're focusing on the technology. I'm sorry to say that, but this is what's happening here. So my next question is, what's the first question every CEO should ask before adopting AI?
Look, the thing is, very nice question, by the way. The thing is, not everything is for everyone.
Okay,
So why is the question which CEO should always ask. Like,
okay,
I mean, why should we do it? And why it is, aligned with our strategic objectives? How will it help us? These are the basic questions which the CEO and the board actually should actually clarify themselves before investing into this. एक आपको बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग सी बात बताते हैं जो कि मैंने रेस्ट पार्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड में थोड़ी सी कम देखी इंक्लूडिंग रेस्ट पार्ट से मुराद है जिस तरह अभी मैंने पिछले 2 साल में पाकिस्तान में काफी ज्यादा टाइम गुजारा था तो वहां मैंने कम देखी वो ये है कि एक तो एआई के लिए जो डाटा की अकाउंटेबिलिटी है पाकिस्तान में जैसे मैंने बताया ना कि द डिपार्टमेंट्स वांट टू हैव देयर ओन डाटा एंड दे डोंट वांट टू शेयर इट सो इट्स लाइक अ प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ माय ओन एक माइंडसेट ऐसा है ऑस्ट्रेलिया में ये टोटली रिवर्स डिपार्टमेंट्स डू नॉट वांट टू हैव इट दे से हमें इट्स लाइक एन एटम बम वी डोंट वांट इट टेक इट सो इसलिए थोड़ा सा हर चीज जरा डिफरेंट है इसलिए it's taken as an accountability. So AI is also its good thing. Personal level पे हर बंदा यूज करता है लेकिन organizational level पे they are very very careful before they actually invest taxpayers money on it.
सर चूंकि आपने ये बात कही है तो ये भी बता दें कि which mindset is better, this one or that?
देखें ये डिपेंड करता है आपकी एपिटाइट पे एज अ सोसाइटी जिस ऑस्ट्रेलिया में देखें तो दे आर रिस्क एवर्स एज वेल एज दे वांट टू मूव फॉरवर्ड बट लेकिन वो शेयर करते हैं अकाउंटेबिलिटी is there if there is an outage which actually happened in 2016 for 4 hours there was outage in South Australia which was during a storm. After 50 years, it was the first incident, and the head rolled. The head of the power department was fired. Right? So accountability is there. So ये culture क्योंकि पाकिस्तान में नहीं है, इसलिए the things are different there.
But sir, that was an act of God. Don't you think
It
that
was
meant
like
so much
no,
on
no,
the
no, no.
part of
It
Bichara
was an
that
act of God,
actually,
but the problem was preparations क्या थी जो CEO के terms में
oh,
आपने
you
पूछा
you you you
is
have
how
forecasted
prepared
that
you
early
were
on,
for the disaster.
prepared for
Exactly.
it. Great,
Yes.
sir, wonderful. What a decision, and I honor that decision. Is AI replacing leadership or strengthening leadership?
Uh, Actually, both. Because
Yeah.
the thing is, AI is actually, evolving the concept of leadership. So the leaders have to be savvy in this. No, gone are the days when there was a trend. Okay, CFOs used to become the CEOs, right? And they never used to invest. They always used to save. In fact, there was a time when मुझे जब कोई रिक्रूटर ऑफर करता था ना कि मैं डिफरेंट पार्ट्स ऑफ वर्ल्ड में काम किया तो रिक्रूटर्स हमेशा मेरे पीछे होते थे तो अफ्रीका में या उधर तो मैं यही पूछता था कि हु इज द सीईओ if I'm going to the CISO or CIO. And what was his background? Is he a financial guy? No, I mean, I'm sorry, मैं किसी के
Yeah,
against नहीं
I
बात कर रहा
understand.
लेकिन but the
नहीं
thing
नहीं
is
सर
कि
बिल्कुल सही कह
financial
रहे, they do not
mindset is different.
invest. Yeah.
I'll give you an
Totally.
example. Look at Apple. Uh, जब Tim Cook was a CFO guy, right? And Steve Jobs was not. So Steve Jobs actually wasted a lot of money on innovation. So people, the board was not happy, but the public was happy. Now,
Yeah.
when Tim Cook came, so the shareholders, have a different feeling,
Happy?
but the people are not happy, right?
Exactly.
So,
And it's really discreet. I mean, we can easily see why. Yes. So the next question is, what's the biggest governance mistake organizations make?
by not, going for and not planning the right governance frameworks. देखिए the best standard जिस तरह से मैं आपको layman example ही देने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ ताकि everyone should understand. देखिए अगर मैं अपने एक फ्रेंड को कहता हूँ यार मैं पाकिस्तान आ रहा हूँ आई नीड अ कार सो मेरे लिए गाड़ी लेके रखे वो कहे कौन सी गाड़ी यार अच्छी कोई जो मुनासिब हो अब वो मेरे लिए फरारी लेके रखे आई मीन इट इज द बेस्ट कार प्रोबली एज अ स्पोर्ट्स कार लेकिन मतलब क्या मुझे वो चाहिए सो दैट इज द बेस्ट गवर्नेंस मिस्टेक द बिगेस्ट गवर्नेंस मिस्टेक अगर मैं बेस्ट स्टैंडर्ड्स को कंप्लाई करना शुरू कर दूं विदाउट अडेप्टिंग देम एंड विदाउट असेसिंग देम इन द लाइट ऑफ माय बिजनेस नीड्स.
Wonderful answer, sir. No match. Which country is currently setting the benchmark for responsible AI?
एज आई मेंशनड मैं जो क्योंकि मैं एक्टिवली अभी कंसल्टिंग कर रहा हूँ ग्लोबल मार्केट में सो मैंने जो देखा है आई माइट बी बायस्ड लेकिन ईयू इज क्वाइट फार अहेड.
Okay, all right. What's more important, innovation
And when I say
speed or
EU, UK is
ethical?
not included,
Yeah.
by the way. When I say EU, is UK is not included. Yeah.
Okay, so UK is not doing anything on it. It's far
Um,
behind.
they are quite behind. So EU is moving quite faster.
Wow. So what's more important, sir, innovation speed or ethical safeguards?
A balance between both.
Just as Miss Emma mentioned. So ये बहुत ही
Hmm.
diplomatic answer था. I do not
नहीं
accept
डिप्लोमेटिक
it.
नहीं. ना
अच्छा.
इसको मैं ऐसे बताऊंगा आपको कि इन द शूज ऑफ अ सीईओ और हमारी जो स्ट्रेस होती है ना सीईओ की बेसिकली एक दफा मुझसे एक टीम मेंबर ने एक्चुअल क्वेश्चन भी पूछा कि सर काम तो सारा हम करते हैं तनख्वाह आपकी इतनी ज्यादा क्यों आप सारे भी करते हैं आपकी तनख्वाह इतनी ज्यादा क्यों तो मैंने उसको
काम भी
आंसर
नहीं
ये
करते
दिया कि
कुछ.
यार मैंने उसको आंसर जो दिया मैंने कहा देखो स्ट्रेस लेने की
हाँ,
काम करने
stress.
की नहीं तो
ये आलू
सीईओ की
है.
जो सीईओ
Sorry.
की जॉब है
Yeah.
एग्जैक्टली सो सीईओ की जो जॉब है वो हर वक्त
हम्म.
बैलेंस में हैंग कर
ऐसे
रही
वैसे
होती तो हमें
ऐसे
वो एक
वैसे.
फाइन बैलेंस ढूंढना होता है एजिलिटी नहीं होगी तो बिजनेस अपने बिजनेस ऑब्जेक्टिव्स अचीव नहीं करेगा और
True.
अगर मैं ज्यादा एथिकल में चला जाऊंगा तो वो लेकिन अगर
हम्म.
एथिकल
को
कंसिडरेशंस
छोड़
और
देंगे.
गवर्नेंस को हम ज्यादा पकड़ेंगे दिस इज अ टिपिकल अगेन मैं ग्लोबल
हम्म.
मैक्रो लेवल पे एग्जांपल दूं तो लुक into what is happening in Silicon Valley versus what is happening in EU. जिस हमने बताया कि EU yes governance में बहुत आगे है लेकिन they could never innovate self-driving cars ahead of the Silicon Valley and Silicon Valley was able to do because there are no regulations. उन्होंने सड़कों पे लोगों को I mean इंसिडेंट्स हुए.
ट्रू. तो अब ठीक है, उनके ऊपर एम्बार्गोज नहीं है, बाउंड्रीज नहीं है, लिमिट्स नहीं है, सो दे आर लाइक
That's how
एक्सप्लोरिंग
innovation
एवरीथिंग.
happens. Naturally,
या.
आप innovation
ट्रू.
तभी करेंगे ना जब regulation नहीं हो.
हाँ
These are
हाँ.
two opposing
बिल्कुल.
things. And
बिल्कुल
finding
है
the
सर.
right things for my
मिक्स.
organization is the job
या.
of the CEO to do
ट्रू.
that.
बिल्कुल ठीक है सर. शुड एआई लिटरेसी बिकम मैंडेटरी फॉर एग्जीक्यूटिव्स?
It's a must. It is mandatory. We accept it or not, but the CEO's, the head's role if they don't know it.
Okay. So what's one AI capability businesses still
I mean,
underestimate?
sorry. I mean, I would say the CEO cannot survive a single board meeting if the CEO is
Without.
not aware of this responsibility of AI. Yeah.
True, very true. Got that. So, sir, my next question was, what's one AI capability businesses still underestimate?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
What's one AI capability businesses still underestimate?
Oh, देखें बेसिकली एआई का जो यूज केसेस दैट रियली डिपेंड्स कि मतलब आप उसको कितना लेवरेज करते हैं फॉर योर ओन बिजनेस
ठीक है
what is happening today is scrupulously businesses are adopting it और जिस तरह से हम बताया कि हम तो भी उस स्टेट में ग्लोबली मैं बात कर रहा हूँ नॉट एज अ कंट्री
जी सर
ग्लोबली हम उसको एडॉप्शन में हाई फेलियर रेट्स को देख रहे हैं सो दिस एक्चुअली मीन्स कि अभी हम फार साइड पर हम सिर्फ डाउनस्ट्रीम बिजनेसेस से स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं अभी जो रियल powers of the AI, the agentic architecture have not been unleashed yet. So businesses are still, not utilizing it to the extent they can, simply for the reason experiment goes wrong, the C-level team goes home, right? So they want to do it, but
बिल्कुल
they are worried about the consequences as well, which they should be, of course. So
या
it's a matter of time. So it's not going to happen today, but the question is valid, and but the question probably will be more pertinent in a few years' time when the businesses have come to a stage जब वो Gartner's की hype cycle में ना आप मतलब agentic adoption जरा नीचे आनी शुरू हो तो उसके बाद ये देखा जाएगा कि उसको अंडर एस्टिमेट कर रहे हैं लेकिन आई थिंक इस वक्त अंडर एस्टिमेट नहीं कर रहे लोग इससे थोड़ा सा
भाग
डर
रहे
रहे हैं जो रिस्पॉन्सिबल है और
जी
जो अंडरस्टैंड नहीं करते वो इसको ओवर यूज कर रहे हैं सो बोथ साइड्स
हाँ बिल्कुल ऐसा ही है एंड दैट्स सो रिस्की कैन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस बी ट्रस्टेड टू रेगुलेट themselves?
Trust is defined as, in the world of consulting, where I've spent most of the time, trust is defined as a combination of three things: credibility, reliability, integrity. Integrity is something which, and these are all values, right? And so, hence, the trust is built over time. So you can't just say that you do it yourself. I trust you. Trust is based on measurable KPIs of credibility, reliability, and integrity. So it happens over time. और self trust कुछ नहीं होता.
Very true, sir. One last question. Please complete the sentence. Trust is the real currency of AI because.
Uh, Tough question. Because I do not think trust is the real currency of AI. Um, अगर देखें the measurable जैसा मैंने आपको बताया ना credibility, reliability and integrity,
जी
right? These are the three things which are essential ingredients. But saying that trust is the currency of AI, no, actually.
Okay. So is it the resultant of AI or is it something that
No,
we
it is an
seek when we
essential
use AI?
prerequisite. No, it is the essential
Essential prerequisite.
prerequisite.
Shall I
Yes.
rephrase that? Great. So it's essential prerequisite of AI. Sir, मैंने ये चीज learn की है. बहुत शुक्रिया आपका. So
Thank
we've
you.
just gone through and ended our rapid fire round. Now I'll take the questions of the participants who have, put up their questions in the chat box. I'm going to read them. अगर थोड़ा सा एक दो मैं miss out कर जाऊँ तो guys you can unmute your mic and tell me I've missed your question till the time we have some time to go with that. Um, what is the future of research and research-based qualifications when AI is producing more reliable and accurate research? यानी पीएचडी क्यों करें जब हम सब कुछ तो फाइंड आउट कर ही सकते हैं
मैं इसका आंसर दे दूं
जी सर दे दीजिए
जी देखिए अभी मैंने थोड़ा सा अपना बता देता हूँ मैं कुछ वेंचर्स भी कर रहा हूँ ग्लोबल स्केल पे अभी मैंने ऑस्ट्रेलिया में अभी मैंने एक्वायर किया है एक ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट आई वांटेड टू डू
हम्म
अ रिसर्च एंड ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट लेकिन रिसर्च
हम्म
इंस्टीट्यूट्स इस वक्त इस फील्ड में अवेलेबल नहीं है दे आर लाइक आउट ऑफ बाउंड तो रिसर्च मैंने एक ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट किया है, और मैं भी ऑस्ट्रेलियन डिफेंस के साथ और साउथ ऑस्ट्रेलियन गवर्नमेंट के साथ, जो कि लिवेबिलिटी रैंकिंग में आपने देखा होगा आज भी वो टॉप 10 में है फॉर द पास्ट सेवरल ईयर्स इन द वर्ल्ड। तो वो जो एडलेड की इकोनॉमिक एजेंसी इसको करती है, उससे भी मेरी अभी परसों मुलाकात हुई। द थिंग इज के जो degree for the sake of degree paper has no meaning in today's world. लेकिन ऑन द अदर साइड जो ऑस्ट्रेलियन डिफेंस के रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स थे, उन्होंने यही कहा कि देखें, हमारा जो प्रॉब्लम है इस वक्त इंडस्ट्री में वो ये है कि जो प्रोडक्ट यूनिवर्सिटी का निकलता है वो कई सालों में निकलता है। द इंडस्ट्री कांट वेट फॉर दैट, आपको इमीडिएटली लोगों की जरूरत है। सो आई एम placing my new organization जो मैंने अभी acquire की है as a partner to Australian Defence and Australian government in meeting their capacity needs on a basis of a maximum of 2 to 3 weeks. उनकी specific एक need होती है और उसके ऊपर it does not matter. In fact, उन job qualifications, उन job requirements के लिए age and qualification has been taken out. और
Wow.
जी, और बिफोर आई एक्चुअली केम टू पाकिस्तान 2023 के अंदर आई हायर्ड अ पर्सन इन माय साइबर सिक्योरिटी टीम जो कि वल्नरेबिलिटी एनालिसिस करता था, एयर बेस्ड, और वो सारी चीजें थी उसके अंदर। ही सेलिब्रेटेड हिज 18th birthday 3 months after joining the office. So मतलब age and qualification is just a number today. If you know it, you don't need qualification. But इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि डिग्रियां ना करें। I mean, मैं एक खास specific world और specific skills की बात कर रहा हूँ। Having said that, for example, coming to Australia is not possible if you don't have a skill-based degree, points-based. तो इसलिए वो चाहिए, लेकिन not for your job.
ट्रू दैट सर, लेकिन मुझे ऐसा लगता है इसकी आप रिक्वायरमेंट माइनस क्यों नहीं कर देते? मतलब ऐसे ही कह रही हूँ, हर किसी के पास नहीं होती ना। अच्छा, anyways, so let's move on to the next question, which is how we will handle AI decision at the time of audit as it's dynamic.
I think
Miss
Ma'am
Saima, if you'd
Saima.
like to answer. Acha, you'd like to answer again.
नहीं, Ma'am Saima, Ma'am Saima.
Acha, Ma'am Saima, can you please answer?
When we talk about the audit part, we have to analyze the samples and identify the violations in that, right? This is what we are talking about in terms of audit. So we have to build our AI engine with the rules of acceptance or classifying it as a violation. This is how the violations are being auto exposed from the data to your surface, and then you can review those violations and take the decision of whether it is a genuine violation or it has some exceptions and it can be regulated, accepted with clause. So there we can apply the AI usage in our scenario.
All right, ma'am. Now, Hussain Saab, if you can answer, what are the key differences between EU AI Act, US approach, and emerging markets like Pakistan?
That's an interesting one because I think the context is, of maturity. So if we look at essentially, excuse me, sorry, when we look at EU is quite far ahead in that regards. Hello?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Sorry, Gigi. So EU is quite far ahead in that regards because if we look at what happened recently when the new act the beautiful act was passed in the US, that said for 10 years AI will not be regulated. Whereas EU is on the other side. It is very much into regulating and putting in place principles and all of that. Pakistan, we have established an act and it is, I think, still in the process of maturity. There's a lot of consideration that needs to happen. It has not, and this is just my submission, my assessment, that act has not had any opportunity to influence how AI is being, used and handled in Pakistan. So,
Acha.
in that sort of context, the EU Act is much far ahead in that regards because there is support for it, recognition for it, and also when we look at the standards, the ISO standards, these are coming out of that same region. So 42001, like I said, is certifiable, auditable. It provides those principles. Something else also that we need to understand is behind 42001, there is 27001, which is the Information Security Management System. And so data privacy and security, data protection come from that. It leverages all of that. So it's a much more well-structured situation. US, we've seen just recently what happened with Sam Altman's company, OpenAI. They were building these tools and the super agents went and they hacked another company, the Hugging Face, if you remember. So there is, I don't see the US as being, controlled, regulated, managed in that way, whereas others are very much into self-regulation. That's my
All right,
assessment. I'm
sir.
sure Babar Saab has a much better understanding of this.
Baba sir, would you like to add value to this question, or should I go with some other question with you?
No, Kantab really explained well. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Go.
Thank you so much. So if you had, Baba Sahab, if you had to give one piece of advice to the organizations starting their AI journey, what would that be?
Okay. The thing is, start small, I will say. Start
Okay.
small. And the first step actually is to see what is your need, align with your strategy. I have seen businesses who actually consider this wisely, and many times I have seen the businesses who just opt to say no, not at this stage. So I think it should be done wisely. First step is to look into your business needs and don't adopt AI for the sake of adopting AI. See the need. This is first step. And then this next step is if you decide to go forward, then start small. Start with the downstream processes. For example, like chatbot, for example, answering calls, right? So start small, and then gradually, when you know what you're doing, when you have done the infrastructure side of data governance and all those foundations which are required, and your cybersecurity pillars are up there, then go for more strategic roles. So this should be, I think, a reasonable step.
Great, sir. Great, sir. I mean, these two things are really important to start with. If overlooked, obviously, वो ये होगा कि हमने बहुत बड़ी एक application ले ली, but we don't know how to use it. So should Miss Saima,
लेकिन
can you answer this question?
if allowed,
Yes, sir.
सॉरी, मैं इसकी एक काउंटर एग्जांपल भी दे देता हूँ क्योंकि
Sure, sir.
इट्स नॉट ओनली फॉर स्मॉल एंड मीडियम बिजनेसेस, इवन बिग बिजनेस। मैं अभी रिसेंटली एक सऊदी फिनटेक की कंसल्टिंग कर रहा था,
ठीक है.
cybersecurity. Saudi Arabia has evolved as a very mature market during the past few years, और उन्होंने इसको बड़ा सिस्टमैटिकली अडॉप्ट किया। उन्होंने एक सिस्टम क्रिएट किया, रेगुलेटर्स का सिस्टम क्रिएट किया। तो जिसका सदाया इज द अथॉरिटी फॉर डाटा एंड एआई, इसी तरह से हर वर्टिकल के अंदर, अच्छा, इसी साइबर सिक्योरिटी के लिए एनसीए, नेशनल साइबर सिक्योरिटी अथॉरिटी, अच्छा, इसी तरह से फाइनेंशियल्स के लिए सामा, सऊदी अरेबियन मॉनेटरी अथॉरिटी। तो अब मैं एक फिनटेक का कर रहा हूँ जो कि इट्स अ बिग ग्रुप, नाम नहीं मैं लूंगा, लेकिन दे वांट टू क्रिएट देयर न्यू फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज, डिजिटल फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज फॉर द सऊदी पब्लिक। तो उसके लिए इतना टाइटली कंट्रोल्ड सिस्टम है कि विदाउट हैविंग सर्टेन सामा के कुछ 3 स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं, CRFR, MVC और CSF। तो उनकी कंप्लायंस के बगैर दे कैन नॉट ऑफर द सर्विसेज एट ऑल। तो सेवरल मंथ्स से उनकी वो सर्विसेज फंसी नहीं है। सो आई मीन टू से कि और एक काउंटर एग्जांपल ये है कि एक झटका स्टार्ट यानी कि क्विक स्टार्ट के लिए एक बिग जाइंट ग्रुप जिनको पैसों का प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, उन्होंने उसको लॉन्च करने के लिए दे सेड के एंड दे गेव अ लॉट ऑफ मनी टू द सी लेवल टीम, दे हायर्ड वेरी सीनियर पीपल और उन्होंने कहा कि लेट्स डू इट। लेकिन द मेच्योरिटी ऑफ द गवर्नेंस, ये अंडरस्टैंड करने की जरूरत है ना कि कंट्री में मेच्योरिटी इतनी हो चुकी है सऊदी अरेबिया में कि उस गवर्नेंस फ्रेमवर्क ने उनको अलाउ नहीं किया। दे वांटेड टू गो फास्ट एजिलिटी, जिसमें गवर्नेंस कंट्रोल्स उनके अभी इंप्लीमेंटेड नहीं थे, आप समझे कि पके हुए आम नहीं थे, लेकिन
बिल्कुल ऐसा।
उस सिस्टम ने उनको ब्लॉक कर दिया। सो ये जो मेच्योरिटी ऑफ द इकोसिस्टम है, ये हमें अचीव करनी है पाकिस्तान में। तो दैट इज व्हाट इज रिक्वायर्ड।
Which is actually the practical implementation of the documented policies which are there, but we need to
Yes.
understand and practically use them. Wonderful, sir.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So now I'd like to move on to Ms. Simon Naveed for the next question, which is: should an AI system be allowed to make decisions that significantly affect people's lives, such as hiring, landing, or medical treatments, or should a human always have the final say, and why?
Human should always be having the final say with the relevant set of information required to make the decision in order to make it quick, but human should always be there. It has the impact associated with it.
Okay, ma'am. Now let me see if we have more questions. How can we make sure that client data are secured when we use an AI application during audit or related assignments?
That's for me.
Hussain Saab can answer it because it's quite like from quite a time now. Thank you, ma'am.
जी
Ji, sir.
जी so yes, so the same principles we need to ensure that the audit firm, they have implemented
Yes, sir.
that protection confidentiality, so that the way they are using the data is ensuring it is not going to be leaked out. The tools that they are using are licensed, and that also requires that the data that they are uploading into the solution, into the tool, is all stored within the company's own servers. And so these have been identified, these have been ring fenced, this data. And once the assignment or the audit is finished, that data can be actually removed from the system. So the audit management solutions that are available right now, they provide that possibility for the whole audit data to be clubbed together and removed from each auditor's laptop, machine, and stored in the archived condition. That sort of responsibility, that sort of investment is required because of the sensitivity of the work that is being done by audit firms. Where we are standing with, so if you look at the big four, if you look at the larger firms, they have already got such solutions in place. If you look at industry organizations, they are in that journey, I think, and having the right regulations, having the right policies and procedures will enable them to ensure that. But we
Okay,
absolutely
sir.
owe it to the clients to secure their data.
Great, sir. There's question, I don't know whom should it go. Please bataiga, whoever would like to answer. Has any law promulgated in Pakistan to ensure ethical use and legal coverage in case of any associated legal risk?
I can answer
Yes,
it.
sir, please. Please, sir, क्योंकि
देखो,
मुझे नहीं समझ आ रहा ये वाला क्वेश्चन किससे पूछूं.
हाँ मैं बता मैं बता देता। देखें, द
जी
थिंग
सर.
इज के ऑनेस्ट आंसर दें तो आंसर इज नो,
ओके.
लेकिन because कोई स्पेसिफिक लॉ इसको कर नहीं रहा। लेकिन देखें, कुछ एफर्ट हुई है नेशनल एआई
हम्म.
पॉलिसी 2025 में, इस्लामाबाद एआई डिक्लेरेशन 2025। मुझे इसलिए पता है इन चीज़ों का बिकॉज के आई वाज देयर एज द सीईओ ऑफ एनआईटीबी, और कुछ पॉलिसीज जो हैं उसको मैंने काफ़ी पुश किया था बिकॉज डीप का जिस तरह प्रोजेक्ट है वो उसके बगैर नहीं हो सकता, पॉसिबल नहीं।
जी
How can
जी.
you have a DPI, digital public infrastructure, without with a data exchange layer, without actually having data governance in place? Data governance policy आज भी नहीं है. So that's why I said no. Having said that, इस बात को ऐसे समझें कि the way of policy making, I mean, अब आई डोंट वांट टू से कि ये पॉसिबल नहीं है, लेकिन मेरी बात को जरा मतलब पॉजिटिव सेंस में समझिएगा. द
जी
वे
सर.
पॉलिसी मेकिंग वर्क्स इन पाकिस्तान, I have to be very careful in choosing the word. The way हमारी पॉलिसी मेकिंग का गवर्नेंस का फ्रेमवर्क गवर्नेंस काम करती है, it takes years or at the best months for a policy to get approved and come out. In the case of AI, ये नहीं चलेगा. आज चैट जीपीटी का नया वर्जन आता है, क्लॉड की अगली चीज कोई लॉन्च होती है, तो आपने अपनी पॉलिसी में जो चीजें कवर की हैं वो आउटडेट हो जाती. सो दिस इज नॉट हाउ वी कैन डू इट. वी नीड टू चेंज द एंटायर पॉलिसी मेकिंग मशीनरी, उसका जो माइंडसेट है, द वे इट वर्क्स. जिस समय मैंने आपको ईयू की एग्जांपल दी है ना, उन्होंने इसको एक्नॉलेज भी किया. ये वीकनेस है, हर गवर्नमेंट की वीकनेस है. मैं सिर्फ मतलब स्पेसिफिकली पाकिस्तान की बात नहीं कर रहा, मैं पूरी दुनिया की बात कर रहा हूँ. लेट्स, तो ईयू ने इसको एक्सेप्ट किया. फर्स्ट स्टेप एक्सेप्टेंस से आता है, और उसके बाद उन्होंने द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ रेगुलेटरी सैंड बॉक्सिंग पे काम शुरू किया. आज वो इसको इंप्लीमेंट कर रहे हैं. टेक्नोलॉजी इंप्लीमेंटेशन गवर्नमेंट ऑफ एस्टोनिया कर रही है, मैं उनके साथ उनको कंसल्टिंग दे रहा हूँ. और प्रोसेस इंप्लीमेंटेशन गवर्नमेंट ऑफ जर्मनी कर रही है, और एंटायर ईयू मेंबर स्टेट्स जो हैं इसको अडॉप्ट कर रही है. सो आज अगर कोई नई चीज आती है तो सैंड बॉक्सिंग में वो उसको टेस्ट करके डे आफ्टर टुमारो पॉलिसी विल बी आउट. तो अगर जब तक हम वो काम नहीं कर सकेंगे, उस तरह से पॉलिसी मेकिंग नहीं कर सकेंगे. एक छोटी सी एग्जांपल फास्ट पॉलिसी मेकिंग की मैं आपको ऑस्ट्रेलिया की दे देता हूँ. कोविड,
जी सर.
आपको याद होगा कि 2019 में कोविड एरप्ट हुआ, एंड द फर्स्ट टू कंट्रीज टू टेक एन एक्शन वर ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड न्यूजीलैंड. यूएस की फ्लाइट्स तो अगस्त सितंबर 2020 तक जा रही थी मास्क पहन के. ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड न्यूजीलैंड व्हाट दे डिड वाज दे क्लोज देयर बॉर्डर्स. हाउ डिड दे डू इट? फर्स्ट, जो simulations, AI based simulations were there, scenarios were run, and the answer was there is इसका कोई इलाज नहीं, it's a big pandemic, इसको बंद करें. सेकंड रिकमेंडेशन, गेट्स को बंद करें. और गेट्स बंद करने का मतलब सिर्फ इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर. आई वाज इन एडलेड दैट टाइम. मेरी जो भांजी है वो विक्टोरिया में थी, मेलबर्न में. शी हैड टू डिलीवर अ बेबी. फैमिली हम ही हैं यहाँ पे, तो शी वांटेड टू कम टू एडलेड साउथ ऑस्ट्रेलिया. शी वाज नॉट अलाउड. सो इंटरस्टेट ट्रैवल भी नहीं था. सो फर्स्ट स्टेप जो था वो था क्लियर डिसीजन, टेक्नोलॉजी बेस्ड, एआई बेस्ड. सेकंड स्टेप, एनफोर्समेंट. सिर्फ पॉलिसी बनाना ही नहीं है, उसको एनफोर्स कैसे करें, तो ये हमारा थोड़ा सा
Definitely.
वीक पॉइंट है. एंड द थर्ड स्टेप उसकी जो था वो ये था कि मतलब उन्होंने उसको एनफोर्स करके कैसे इम्प्लीमेंट करके ग्रास रूट लेवल पे हर एक को एड्रेस किया, इंडिविजुअल लेवल तक. तो जब तक हम वो चीजें नहीं करेंगे तब तक ये थोड़ा सा मुश्किल हो जाएगा.
बिल्कुल ठीक हो गया सर. थैंक यू सो वेरी मच. आई एम रियली रियली थैंकफुल टू ऑल माय स्पीकर्स, पैनलिस्ट्स हु हैव टेकन पार्ट. मैं नाम लेती हूँ: आदिल भट्टी साहब, मिस आयमन नवीद, असद इकराम साहब, एंड हुसैन हसन अली साहब. आई एम रियली thankful to all of you. Now we have with us our Executive Director, Mr. Amir Ijaz. He has taken time out from his very, very busy schedule and honored us by his closing remarks. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here. हमारे 3 स्पीकर्स एनालिस्ट तो यहाँ पे भी मौजूद हैं. हुसैन साहब का थोड़ा कनेक्शन का इशू था. He's going to join back, inshallah ta'ala. So, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for arranging such a pertinent, seminar on this important topic. और जहाँ तक थोड़ा बहुत मैं सुन सका, दरमियान दरमियान में कुछ ज्वाइन करके मैं देख रहा था, तो बड़े इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट्स के ऊपर कंसिडरेशन रखी गई. अभी मैं भट्टी साहब के साथ बहुत ज़्यादा मुत्तफिक हूँ. सबसे पहले, अगर आपके पास लेजिस्लेशन नहीं है और आपको यही नहीं पता डायरेक्शन लेनी किस वक्त क्या है, तो you are blindly doing everything. So I'm very thankful to the learned speakers for sharing their knowledge with the participants, Mr. Asad Ikram, Saima, Mr. Babar, and Hussain Saab. So, and top of all the participants patiently listening for all these things, and they would certainly trying to implement all wherever they are working and in which capacity they are having certain details to be dealt with. Just like I'm seeing that Azhar Zaur Rahman Saab is here. who has been our consistent trainer on the cyber security for the board of directors training. So such dignitaries, visionaries are there, and they are the ones who are leading they're the, in fact, industry stalwarts. And they are doing something really amazing for इस वक्त हमारा काफी प्रॉब्लम है, जो आने वाली नई टेक्नोलॉजी है उसको हम एकदम से अडॉप्ट करते हैं, और ये अर्ली एडॉप्शन अपने साथ जितनी जितनी लीथल रिपरकशंस लेके आती है उसके बारे में बहुत लेट हमें पता चलता है, जब पानी सर से गुजर चुका है। आज का मैं इस एंगल से इसको देख रहा था कि आप मोटिवेट रहें चीजों के हवाले से, छोड़े नहीं कि जब तक बनेगा तब तक वो मतलब करेंगे, लेकिन ये कि उसको अडॉप्ट करते हुए कोई बायलॉज, कुछ चीजों का ख्याल कर लिया जाए। सो वंस अगेन थैंक्स फॉर शेयरिंग योर नॉलेज एंड ग्लोबल पर्सपेक्टिव्स, practical insights which you have shared with the audience. Emerging framework has given us a much clear roadmap. If we could have that thing in all our these scenarios, ethical AI, Pakistan, financial and corporate sectors, it must be a dire need, and we should continuously starving for all these things. That how can we implement all these things in our businesses and day-to-day routines. So at ICMA, hailing from a professional accounting organization, we strongly believe that the finance and business leaders, they should have the responsibility, and they are the responsible one for the technology to serve the humanity with integrity and transparency, fairness. So all the conversations made today are critical as we will navigate towards the transformation journey. So these will be the pillars for us, and based on all these aspirations, we will be able to have a good policy for the implementation phase going forward. So once again, thank you very much to all speakers, the organizers, our technical team for flawless delivery of all the proceedings, and last but not the least, to all the participants. Thank you very much, Shamreen. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you very much, sir, for your closing remarks. And now, as our pattern, I would like to request all the speakers, panelists to turn on your cameras so that we can have a picture with our executive director for the social media post and a memory that we have, set together on something important.